It's a bitter pill to swallow.
Ladies and gentlemen, from Cincinnati, Ohio, he's an NWF Hall of Famer, the manager of champions, Professor Bitterman, Kirk Sheppard.
It's a bitter pill to swallow.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. It's the Bitter Pill for Wednesday, September the 24th, 2025. And I am here late, but I am here. And I'm glad that you're here as well. And hope we can get into some things today. Hope you're doing well. Hope things are good. And let's find out what's popping.
Oh no, here it comes. It's a huge pop!
Well, what's popping for me is my brand new book coming out on November the 11th. It's called Broken Stools, Falling Off Furniture, and 52 Other Lessons About Humility. Designed to be read in sort of a weekly format like a devotional, but without the religious aspect, this book concentrates on all the aspects of what humility really is. So what I learned through writing the book, as you see on the post-it, stuck to the front of the cover, the opposite of humility isn't confidence, it's certainty. That should intrigue you a little bit. I hope you'll pick it up wherever books are sold. You can get it from me at kirksheppard.com if you want an autographed copy, or you can go to Amazon or your bookstore and ask them to order it November the 11th.
Oh no, here it comes. It's a huge pop!
So, what do you think the best day of the week is going to be for the Bitter Pill? Wednesday has been a tough, as I've learned the last few weeks of me getting it recorded and up and written and out. I don't know that any other day is going to be any easier, but I'm toying with trading Wednesday to Friday and seeing how that works, because at least on Fridays, I'm typically off work. And so if I don't have it done before Friday, I can work on it Friday morning and get it up by noon. So we may do that. We may pivot to a Friday, but don't panic if you don't see it on a Wednesday. I will get you a fresh Bitter Pill when I can. Let's get right to it.
It's the Bitter Book Club. It's the Bitter Book Club. Book Club.
We are currently reading my book, Soul Audit, because I wrote it, and it's a good book, and I want to get the word out about it, but also because I'm trying to work on an online video course, and by creating these content lessons, it's giving me a start towards that end. So we read chapter 2 this week, all about values. The chapter is called Learned, Lived, or Left Behind, and it's all about values. Why values matter. Values are principles that we live by, and they shape our decisions, our relationships, and our time and energy, how we spend it. At least that's how it should work, right? The book Soul Audit is all about alignment of the soul, and it's about making sure that our values aspirationally line up with our values actually. Because misalignment is when we have stress and disconnection around things like our values. So if we know that we value independence or we value downtime, and yet we've jam-packed our schedule full of events and connections and parties, there's a misalignment happening, and you're going to be tired. You're going to be irritable. You might even be angry. And so we want to make sure we know what our values are so we can organize our life around those. It's an important distinction to note that what you value may not be the same as what your values are. Now, that's a weird semantics maybe, but what do you value can shift with context, right? So tonight, I'm valuing, once this is done, laying down for a minute and just closing my eyes and taking a 15-minute nap. I think that's an important thing. Do I value rest normally? Actually, yeah. But I think the things that I value don't always match up with what my values are, because my values might be things that are bigger Things that are more consistent, like independence and creativity and things like that. So it's important just to have a general sense that you might shift in what you value versus what your overall values are. And that's okay, because a lot of times values alignment is more about prioritization than it is about recognition. Now, there are 5 types of values I want to talk about. 1, inherited ones. These are the ones that we're taught or that are absorbed into us because of our parents or the culture that we come from. These are things that we don't even question. We just inherently value them. Those probably need to be reassessed. Then you have unconscious values. These are the things that you just do because it has always been done that way. Sort of how you survive. And again, those unconscious values should be paid attention to and reevaluated. Aspirational values are things like generosity and kindness and hard work, which maybe are actual values, but may not be. I aspire to save money, for instance, but if you looked at my bank account, you'd call me a liar, right? It is right now purely an aspirational value. My actual values are what I do now and who I am now. And I learned that I actually value having a good time more than I do saving money. And I'd like to change that, but it's important for me to be aware of the actual value so that I can start there as we begin the alignment process to get the values where I want them to be. And finally, you have haunting values. These are things that you've outgrown, but still echo around in your head. So the example for me is that when Easter Sunday rolls around, I sometimes feel guilty that I'm not in church, even though I don't value that anymore. So important things to make sure you understand the distinction about, because definitely there's going to be friction between your actual values and the ones you're not living. Like I said, misalignment occurs when our aspirational values don't match our actual values. So a great way to do this exercise of what a values assessment is to not make a list of what things that you think you value, but to actually list your behaviors and see what those tell you that you value. Aspirations don't equal action. Let me tell you about that. Machine Gun Carl Anderson started professional wrestling training and was all in and got a concussion that put him out of action for a year. When he returned, he reached out and we got him involved in the Northern Wrestling Federation at Bone Crushers, where he showed up, where he did security, where he watched footage, tapes, where he went to the gym every day, where he would literally come to my house to watch Monday Night Raw and would rewind spots, would rewind even entrances, and studied the business and was given his all to pro wrestling. He would show up at training every week. He would go to the shows and work security. He would watch it incessantly. He would wrestle for $5 just to get in the ring. And his values matched his actions. The number of students that came through Bone Crushers who would email me ahead of time and tell me that their greatest desire in the world was to be a professional wrestler and they couldn't imagine doing anything else with their lives, who would maybe come to training once a month and didn't have what it took because their values didn't align. They wanted to be a wrestler. They didn't want to do the work to be a wrestler. Their values were not the same as their aspirations. It's an important thing to pay attention, because when your aspirations match your actions, your dreams can come true. So here's what you should ask yourself when it comes to your actual values. Where did my time and energy go this week? How did I spend my time? What did I protect? What boundaries did I set? That tells you a lot about your values. And what did I avoid? That also tells you about your values. Things that you think you might value, you might be avoiding. Like, I value health. I'd like to, but I don't go to the gym. I'm still drinking Coca-Cola like it's going out of style. Might be. My values are having a good time, feeling dopamine hits from Coca-Cola, caffeine, and high fructose corn syrup. My values are not losing weight. My values are not going to the gym and getting healthy. So here's some homework. I want you to ask yourself one value you were raised with that no longer fits for you. A value that you've always held, but no one taught it to you. You just always have known it, an unconscious value. And one value that you claim, but you don't live right now. I want you to write those 3 things down. And I want you to take a look at those and decide if you really need those values, if you want to make those values a priority, if you want to change your behavior to match, or if you need to reevaluate what you say your values are and just be honest with yourself about the difference. Alignment isn't about the right values. There's no right or wrong here. We're not evaluating from a critical lens whether it's a good value or a bad value. What we're doing is making sure we're aware of our values and putting the right practice and awareness into place around those things. Because sometimes value assessment is actually about just prioritization. So if you value rest, you want to protect your bedtime. If you value connection, you want to text your friends. If you value curiosity, you want to read and explore. But if you don't actually live out the values you profess, then you don't really value them. You want to value them, and that's a big difference. You don't have to reject anything. You don't have, because again, we're not evaluating for good or bad. You don't have to throw anything away. You just have to decide what gets to stay and what no longer serves you. And finally, I want you to look in the mirror and see if your reflection matches the mental image of yourself. Is the person that I think I am the person that's looking at me in the mirror? That is the first step in the soul audit process. And next week, we're going to talk about emotions and feelings and get into that. If you have comments, questions, thoughts about values, I would love for you to comment those in the Patreon message board if you were on the Good Brothers Talk and Shop Patreon. You can also reach out to me directly at professorbitterman@gmail.com if you want to have a conversation. I offer coaching around these things and have some time on my schedule if you're interested in coaching sessions. Or you can just work on it through yourself or take it to your own therapist and say, hey, I want to work through this book. Will you help me? And I would love that too. If you would like to buy a copy of the book and can't afford it, also please reach out to me at professorbitterman@gmail.com and we'll see if we can work something out. That's it for the book club this week.
It's the Bitter Book Club. It's the Bitter Book Club. Book Club.
I value this podcast. I value it enough that I came home from a hard day at the office and recorded it late tonight to get it in your hands by Wednesday. So I hope that you also value that and tell your friends. Last week we had 5 views. Makes it a little hard for me to continue doing it, but I will, for at least for now, because I value this experience for myself. I'm going to be at the Louisville Book Festival coming up. That is on Saturday, October 11th. Very excited about that. If you're in the Louisville, Kentucky area, please come over and say hi. It's free. And there'll be over 150 different exhibitors and authors there where you can come in and buy books and listen to talks and just get a sense of the literary community in and around Louisville, Kentucky. There are people coming in from lots of other states as well. I learned this week on a Zoom call. So hope to see you there. Of course, as always, make sure you're checking out STGN49 on Roku or TrillerTV.com to see Lariato Pro Wrestling Guild or the Talk and Shop Patreon podcasts and all the things the Good Brothers are up to, as this is a part of the Talk and Shop broadcast empire. Something I'm proud to be a part of. So that's going to do it for me. I hope you've had a great week. Again, don't worry about if you don't see me on Wednesday, maybe it'll come out Friday. I'm working on that. But next week, we're going to talk about emotions in chapter 3 of Soul Audit. So make sure you read that. And if you don't read it, it's also okay. I think you'll still get the gist of what we're talking about through just the presentations here on the podcast. And for now, this has been a bitter pill to swallow.
It's a better pill to swallow.
The Bitter Pill with Kirk Sheppard is part of the Talk and Shop media empire. The preceding video was produced as educational and entertainment content only. Kirk Sheppard is a licensed mental health therapist. However, the material on this broadcast should not be considered clinical or representative of his professional work in that context.
It's a better pill to swallow.
Professor Bitterman is a fictional character and may not reflect his actual views and opinions. For more content from Kirk Sheppard, go to kirksheppard.com. follow him on Facebook and Instagram, and subscribe to his Substack and YouTube channels.
Please subscribe to the Talkin' Shop podcast on YouTube for more content from the Good Brothers.